Electronics reuse and recycling facilities of every size and scope begin their operations with some version of an intake and sorting process. There are many ways of doing this, and this video will not attempt to demonstrate them all, but will instead concentrate on the core operations of proper intake and sorting procedures, data security concerns, evaluation of materials for reuse versus materials recovery, safety concerns for employees, and tracking materials as needed. At its most basic level, the intake and sorting process receives mixed loads of electronic equipment, components, and materials, and separates those various devices and materials into devices that contain data and need data sanitization, devices or materials for processing within the facility, or outbound shipment for materials recovery or further processing, such as testing, disassembly, or data sanitization. Occasionally, incoming loads might be already sorted or made up of an entire container of the same device or material. It's important for all data devices to be identified and either sanitized at the facility or sent to a qualified downstream vendor for physical or logical data sanitization. This initial sort process, right after intake, is sometimes called triage. In this video, we will examine how 3 facilities manage the intake and sorting process. At the first facility, material is received through truck loading docks, and it's staged in an internal area next to the trucks so the incoming load can be tagged with the name of the customer. The Gaylord boxes from this incoming load are immediately weighed and entered into the facility's Enterprise Resource Planning, or ERP, software. New tags are generated for each container, and they are moved into a large holding area. Containers are moved from the holding area into the main sorting and testing area of the facility, where all data devices are identified and sent for sanitization. Materials selected for testing and further evaluation before resale are sent to a testing area. Other materials and devices in the large containers are separated into smaller containers on this wheeled cart. The small containers are emptied into labeled Gaylords and sent to downstream processors. Devices that need to be disassembled are sent to this area, and the component parts are sorted into adjacent Gaylords. And tested devices are collected for packing and shipping for resale. At the next facility, the unloading, weighing, and initial entry into the ERP system is the same as the first example, but the sorting process is done differently. As devices are sorted into various Gaylords, each Gaylord is tagged with the name of the material and whether or not it contains data. Some Gaylords have signage to assist with the sorting process, showing the cut line where some devices are tested for resale and others are sent for materials recovery. Some devices, such as these Chromebooks, have not been sanitized and are sent for data sanitization by a qualified downstream vendor. This facility also uses a moving conveyor belt in the disassembly area where employees separate the material from the belt into individual labeled Gaylords. Batteries are sorted in their own area by employees trained in battery identification and stored in labeled Gaylords. These backup power supplies contain heavy batteries, so employees are trained to sort them carefully to avoid injury, especially to hands and fingers. And circuit boards at this facility are sorted into multiple grades before shipment to downstream vendors. The third facility is smaller than the first 2, but the organization and layout is very efficient. Electronics enter the facility through a single loading door and are moved to this half of the facility for intake, testing, and repair. The other half of the facility is for listing the tested and repaired devices in online auctions, then packing them for shipment and sale. As before, all incoming equipment is tagged with the name of the supplier before being entered into the ERP system. Each device has a unique identifier tag that follows it through every process within the facility. That process begins with testing every device. Devices that cannot be repaired have some parts harvested and the rest are sent to downstream processors for materials recovery. The process includes testing virtual reality gaming systems. Some devices are tagged for repair, which is done internally at this facility. Once tested or repaired, devices are again scanned into the ERP system software to have their records updated before being sent to the other side of the facility for listing and sale. Every electronics reuse and recycling facility works out their own methods to efficiently receive and sort electronic equipment, components, and materials. Intake and sorting procedures connect directly with some of the foundational principles and best practices in electronics reuse and recycling, including sorting materials for possible reuse, protecting the health and safety of workers and their communities, and protecting against irresponsible handling of data-bearing devices. More videos showing different processes used by electronics reuse and recycling facilities are available in the R2 knowledge base on the CERI website.